New York City is turning into a nightmare for the celebrities, the movie stars, the journalists, the activists, the politicians, and even the artists and musicians who voted in Mayor Mamdani. Communism is, surprise, surprise, already killing them. They've been doxxed. Taxes rising for those who were told they would never be charged. And now the guy in charge is, well, way underwater. It turns out even the movie stars may be leading an exodus to anywhere, everywhere that's hotter than NYC. What a day it is to be alive, ladies and gentlemen, and what a gift it is that you have decided to join us as we bring you tomorrow's news, the headlines of the next day, brought today, every single day. And yes, journalists out there, or as they call you, journalists, grab your jumbo pencils and start taking notes. Folks, all we need from you, click that like button, and here we go. It's still a New York City nightmare, and socialism? No, it's communism, baby. PJ Media is writing this one. Stephen Green, welcome to socialism. A Clinton hands stark warning about Mamdani. As we get into this, folks, all we can say is that for the celebrities, the movie stars, the professional athletes, we told you so. Democratic strategist Mark Penn to X during the wee hours Wednesday morning to warn the public about the lie of socialism, communism, represented by New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. But it's really a cry for help over what's happening to his party. It says, in a piece headlined, Welcome to Socialism, Penn wrote that Mamdani's administration with fanfare released its list of 960,000 owners of real estate in New York City that have been determined they could owe the new tax he's implemented because NYC computers have determined they own what was billed as a market value of $5 million or more. Remember, it was just going to be the ultra elite, just the ultra rich. They can pay their fair share. 960,000 owners of real estate. It says the answer is that you are subject to the tax in the first 2 years if your property has a DOF valuation of over $1 million. So the $5 million figure was a fake. Once you're on the list, you have to prove you should not be taxed. You get to prove it. You should not be taxed by showing you're a resident or by challenging the valuation. Good luck fighting the city bureaucrats on both of these counts. The individual litigation will be massive. It's a staggering 9.5% tax. 9.5% tax. Why? Because in order to implement the socialist communist ideas and ideals to New York, they need $12 billion in taxes. And that means, according to Newsweek, we got a whole lot of celebrities who are suddenly going to have to pay a whole lot of money. And I dare say they're not going to like it because it turns out they like their yachts a lot. They're capitalists to the core. They're just corrupt and crazy. And now it's no longer hazy whether they're going to pay. Mandy Tahiri is writing this one. I don't care about the stuff. I just want to get the names. Who's going to be paying? We already know it's going to be a huge amount of money, but who's going to be paying? Here we go. Alan Cumming, Darren Aronofsky, John Leguizamo, Matthew Modine, Joel Cohen, Spike Lee, Woody Allen, Patrick Dempsey, Corey Stoll, Luke Kirby, Ryan Eggold. How do we know these names? How do we know they're going to pay? Because they doxed them. New York City doxed these celebrities, musicians, fashionistas, artists, authors. This is huge. They doxed all these people. And how many did we say again? Go back to the report from PJ Media. How many?
950,000.
960,000 owners of real estate. 960,000 owners of real estate are going to be paying almost 10% in taxes. Not to the feds. Not in substitution of their other taxes. Taxes on top. And it's not, if you have a property over $5 million, it's over $1 million. And ladies and gentlemen, if you own property in New York, the chances you can own a property in New York that's less than $1 million is about nil. Nat, they're learning a hard lesson right now. And what we're hearing is gigantic exodus out of New York. The problem is, I don't think they'll learn a thing.
And even if they let them go, because eventually communists do try to trap you and trap your wealth within, so you can't escape. I mean, we've seen this story play out over and over again. We saw
over and over
as well. It happens. And it's like, they in a way, I'm glad at least some of them who were very for all of this are kind of figuring it out. But they will also, because they're at the highest echelons, they will be able to leave in time. However, a lot of other homeowners and other people that get swept up into this, because again, it's very different what they say. They started with 5 million, now it's just 1, or the valuation, or etc. It starts trickling down to the everyday people who might have thought it was a good idea to tax the rich until they become the rich because the rich have left.
Chances this collapses the real estate market culture to the point that they actually have a hard time selling their properties.
Oh, I think it's already happening. And we've seen this reflected in many other communities for various reasons. But it's the same mechanisms that work. And ultimately, you're going to end up with banking issues because the banks, you've already seen a record number of people not paying their mortgages. The banks are going to end up with a lot of properties. People will abandon things and be left with nothing, but be willing to do so because any power that they had over themselves, their independence, and their own ownership of anything is stripped from them by governments like this. This was why people were warning about Mamdani and the ideas here. And I have a feeling that the real estate market will start to drift downward if it hasn't already. I haven't done any comparatives, but if I were to go and look up property addresses, I would imagine that over the last 6 months, you've started to see property values start to trend downward. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Jonas, I actually love this story. New York, I hate it for them, but this might be the kind of thing that creates a rebound. This might be the final point where we get a pendulum shift where they realize this whole socialism, communism thing. I mean, they're going to hate to say it. They're never going to admit it out loud, but surely as they watch an exodus of everybody who's rich and all of that brain power that goes with them, all of that institutional knowledge, all of those abilities, when they head to Texas, when they head to Florida, when they head to Tennessee, when they head to North Carolina, when they head to Nevada, when they head to Idaho, surely this is going to be the moment where they say, we sunk the city and we got to change. Maybe.
Right. This is absolutely amazing to me.
Nat says no. I kind of agree with Nat more than myself. Go ahead, Jonas.
Generally speaking, when you think about these kind of places going communist, they're talking about an entire country. And countries have the force of the military behind them. And I think about the fact that when people left Castro's Cuba, they left in boats made out of raincoats and things like that. There was a desperate nature to getting out of Cuba because of utopian policies like this. Utopian being meant in the most sarcastic way possible. The thing about this is there's free commerce and free trade out of New York. It's difficult to get out of New York, but at the same time, they're making such a good case for leaving behind this city. This will only lessen the impact of New York. They're not only giving up the monetary value by forcing these people out of the city, they're also giving up their cultural significance, which is one of the few things that New York really has, because we have an entire coast here. Ports can move. That takes time, but it can be done. So this is something where if you put the government in charge of the Sahara Desert, eventually there will be a shortage of sand. I would say within 5 to 10 years. So if you decide to tax millionaires and billionaires living in New York City, then they will just go somewhere else. They are economically the most mobile people in the world. So, and even if it's 5 millionaires, they've given them a great excuse to leave. They've probably been thinking, when are we going to do this? So they're just going to do it. Their tax professionals are going to tell them, yeah, get out, vacation in New York instead of living in New York.
Well, now, let me ask you about that, Jonas, because California has worked on this. I think Boston has worked on this. New York City may be working on it. Ways to punish people for trying to leave so that they can't leave. Like there's an exit tax, which I think is going to have to go all the way up to SCOTUS because it's probably unconstitutional, but they're trying it.
Yeah, and this is a former corporate tax accountant here. This is something that comes up frequently is California tried to impose a trailing tax, meaning that if you leave, you're liable for your income for the next 5 to 10 years in a regressive tax on income you don't even make in the state.
It's like a vengeful ex-boyfriend or girlfriend.
Right. So if New York tries something like that, that will be probably one of the most revolutionary cases that could come out. Wayfair a while back was ruled in a way that was disappointing to a lot of tax. Sorry, let's not get into the apocrypha of tax law here, or sorry, the arcana. With this, I think that they're in a position here where if they start putting too much of a spotlight on how tax laws work, specifically state tax laws, tax law in the United States, specifically, I'm talking about the federal here, is the opposite of innocent until proven guilty. You are guilty until proven innocent. And so if they do this, this has ramifications for the entire tax system of the United States, I would think, if this ends up going to the Supreme Court. So Mamdani could actually accidentally do a little Trojan horse that ruins the IRS itself if this went up. But Mamdani is playing with things that I think could destroy other parts of the United States here. I don't want to get too deep into the tax side of this, but it is silly to think that you can control the national stage from one city that is losing relevance because of him.
Yeah, and I need to explain this second home thing because it's really misleading. People are going to say, well, I want the celebrities who have a second home, I want them to be taxed because who cares about them, right? Well, what this is actually is that people of great wealth, it's not just celebrities, but people of great wealth who are connected with institutions of power and wealth. New York City is one of the big places that you have to be. So is Los Angeles and a few others, depending on your industries. Okay. So these celebrities, let's say that they have a lot of movies that they need to go do in New York. That's the case. It makes more sense for them financially to have it's not a home. I mean, it is kind of a home, but it's not like they've got a white picket fence and a little lawn. They have a condo. They have a home in a high rise, right? That's what they have. They have a penthouse. But the reason they have it is because they need proximity to the film shoot. They don't want to have to, because they're spending so much time in these places, and because I got to go do the interview with the late night host or whatever, right? They want proximity, and then they have their stuff there. So it's a business thing. These people are doing a business thing. I'm not trying to defend them. I'm just saying, like, what Mamdani is doing is driving the incentive to have media located in New York. He is driving that incentive away because now people are being taxed like crazy for daring do media business there. And somebody somewhere, like, I don't know why Fox News is still in New York. I have no idea why Fox News doesn't be like, let's go to Florida. Let's go put the Fox News headquarters in Florida. I have no idea. I don't understand it. But there's going to be a lot of people talking about making those kinds of moves real soon. Because think about all the folks out there who they have a home in Los Angeles, they have a home in New York, or they have a home in Austin, they have a home in New York. And they do that because they have businesses that require them to be in both places. And now this is essentially their business being taxed at a crazy rate that makes it impossible to do business in comparison to doing it anywhere else. That's what this is.
It's also not city-centric. I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt you, but it's not city-centric. This tax is pied-à-terre or whatever this tax is called. They use a fancy French word to confuse you.
Of course, it's French.
Yeah, this is a Hochul idea originally. This is the governor of the state that originally tried to push this through. There was a New York Times article about it going back to April, talking about raising taxes in the pied-à-terre luxury tax, targeting ultra wealthy, the same people that Mamdani went after in New York City. Everybody's like, well, this could be a boon for high-end rentals and properties that people find unobtainable. I'm like, yeah, but they're going to be worth like $6 because everybody's going to be trying to leave. If this starts at a state level, it's even worse. Can you imagine getting taxed twice over, a rental, a rental home or a second home?
It's making anybody who ever thought about buying property in New York say,
yeah,
nope,
or Canada.
Because I don't want to live in New York forever. Nat, this has been tried over and over and over again. This time, it's the biggest or second biggest media market in the U.S., and I think it's going to cause the movement of media out all across the United States and no longer be congregated in a couple of big cities. It's going to go everywhere now. It's going to be diffused.
And I mean, we're already kind of seeing it with more studios opening up in random, quote unquote, places within the US. But I was going to say it's kind of, in a way, lucky. Maybe you don't see it that way being inside the US, but it's kind of lucky that it is happening in the US because, as you were mentioning, there's other states that are doing the complete opposite, essentially, and actually welcoming investment. And I that talk a lot about Canada, for example, it's the whole country that is inescapable with all of these kinds of policies. So in a way, it's a good experiment to have some people see what actual socialism tending towards communism does and how it does drive away investment and people that want to make money for the city and for all the crazy things that they want to implement, like government-run grocery stores. Eventually the money does run out, especially if you chase it out of the city. But it's a good thing that it's happening in a way in the US. Hopefully more and more people see it and understand and look at the consequences. I don't know how many will, and I do see it dangerous rise in the DSA, for example, in the Democratic Socialists of America. And I think the Democrat Party itself, because that article was saying that it was a Hillary or Clinton housing staffer or something that was writing about this and about the insanity of it. And we are seeing that fracturing as well within the Democrats and the DSA, which I still don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that they're now fighting each other.
Thank God for federalism. And I think we're going to watch the wealth of America transform and go to new locations. I think you're going to see a massive tidal wave of economic influence suddenly shift to the places, folks, where everybody is moving. Even if they say the dinosaur media, they're the worst places to live. No way, we say. You know, when you stick around for the entire video, it really does help the channel. And we're so appreciative of that, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine that you would stick around and hear everything we have to say. The studio is glistening because you're listening each and every day. If you're not yet subscribed, well, you should be. And click that like button. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.